Hi guys, and welcome to the video. I just wanted to preface really quick before we get into the tutorial that this video is a segment off of our beginner basics shuffle course that we just launched. This video is our module 1, and in the course you have 5 total modules. So this is just a little segment from it, but I wanted to get this on YouTube because I do think the running man is like the most important move as a beginner, as a shuffler, all around. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're interested in really in-depth videos just like this one, check the link in the description and it'll be there. But enjoy the videos and I'll see you inside.
Welcome to your first module. In this module, we are going to go over the running man. I just want to dive into the importance of the running man before we really start getting into the in-depth tutorial. I really suggest that you listen to this part and take notes because this is going to sort of switch your mindset and your approach to all of these moves. So the running man is your most important move with shuffling. It is the foundation, it is your bread and butter. If you nail the running man and you really get a clear understanding of how it's supposed to feel to do the running man, you are set up for every other move. Yes, other moves can be harder than the running man. Yes, they can be more challenging, but this is going to really guide you in the right direction. So nail the running man and you're golden. I also want to reiterate that the running man is the move that you're gonna do the most at shows, at festivals. It's the move that you probably see the most often. It's just the most convenient move to do at festivals because you can stay in place in a really tight surface, but you still get to feel like you're shuffling without like doing all of these extra moves. So if you want to be able to dance at music festivals, the running man is your go-to. It's the move you really need to be working on. So keep that in mind. The reason that I believe that the running man is the most important move is because it's going to help you with your balance, your stamina, and your stability. Those 3 things make up a beautiful move, dance movement, anything like that. Those 3 things are what's going to really set you up. And those are the 3 things that you have to do to have a really nice, successful running man. Another reason that I think the running man is a really important move is because it teaches you musicality. You've got to stay on those beats with that running man, and learning that with the running man is going to help make everything else so much easier, and it's going to be in your head and you're like, oh, this makes so much more sense. So musicality is really big with the running man, but it's super, super easy counts. The last reason that I think that the running man is really important is because it teaches you the balance between staying really light on your feet, but staying grounded into the floor. Shuffling, you've got to stay light on your feet because you're moving so quickly, but you've got to stay grounded on the floor or you're going to look too much like you're jumping and bouncing too high. So you really got to navigate that like happy medium in between staying grounded and really being light on your feet. So the running man teaches you how to do that, and like I said, you've got to know all of that and all of the other moves. So if you really learn that with the running man, you're set. So these are some things that we're going to discuss, and let's hop into the tutorial. All right, welcome to the tutorial of the running man. I just wanted to preface that it just started storming, so enjoy the nice little rain ambiance. I hope it's not too loud and distracting. I'll do my best to make sure it's not, but preface before we get started. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. So I want to brief you on some terminology really quickly with the running man before we get started. There are 2 terms that I will be using a lot, and that is your stance and that is your perch. So your perch is when you have one leg raised and you have one leg planted on the floor. This is your perch position. It looks like this. And then you have something that's called your stance, and that is when you're rooted into the ground. Stance, perch, okay? Now let's go over the positions for each of those. For your perch, like I said, you're gonna have one foot up. It could be your right or it could be your left foot. We wanna make sure that we don't have it too high. Like this is pretty high to have it because every time you come up, you gotta shoot it that high, and that's a lot of work. So I recommend having it kind of in the middle because you also don't want it too low either, or it's gonna look more like that. So we're gonna really kind of work on having it somewhere kind of in the middle. This is where it really works for me. It's all personal preference. If you like to have it higher, do your thing. If you like it lower, do your thing. So this is about the height that I choose to go. Now, my foot, I keep it pretty relaxed. I don't flex it, and I don't 100% point it. It is relaxed, so it's a little bit more on the pointed side rather than the flexed, but it's just kind of here. right? My leg, my supporting leg, while I'm in my perch, is shooting in the ground and it's straight. My knee is not bent, I'm locked out, my leg is up. So it could look like this, from the front, from the side, from the back. Okay, that is our perch. Our stance is, like I said, when we're rooted into the ground. So when we're rooted into the ground, we have both feet down into the floor. So I'll turn to the side. You can see my front foot, my heel is down. Okay, this is really important. Your front foot, heel is down, and I'm adding a slight plie into my legs. A plie is a ballet term for just the bend of the knee. So a plie, a plie, a plie, these are all plies, a bend in the knee. So I'm doing a slight plie on my front leg when I'm in my stance. So the goal for the back leg is to try and get this back heel down. It can be a little bit difficult, especially the wider that you go with your running man. It can be more difficult to get this heel rooted onto the ground, but the important part is that you try to get it pretty close. So you can see my heel, it's probably a little bit lifted, and that's okay. So front foot, heel is down, toes are down, back foot, toes are into the ground, and my heel is just slightly up. If you can get it all the way down, great. So my weight is pretty even amongst my front leg and my back leg. I'm not too much forward like this, and I'm not carrying my weight back here. I'm in the middle. So this is our stance. This is what it's supposed to look like. It kind of makes like a triangle, right? A triangle with our legs. So we're gonna start in our perch. So we have one leg up. In order to get down to our stance, we have to shoot our front leg out and our supporting leg back. So in order to do that, our supporting leg has to slide back and our front leg pops just right down. Something to keep in mind is when you are up in your perch, your front leg kind of shoots out a little bit, like I said, to make that triangle. We're not coming straight down. We're shooting it out just ever so slightly out. Because if I don't shoot it out, I'm gonna get this. And then I'm not even on my weight. Shoot it out. My supporting leg, all it's doing is sliding backwards. Slide, boom. Slide, boom. Front leg, boom. 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 Yeah? So together, boom. Now to come back up, my front leg slides right under my hips. Okay, we're here, it slides right under my hips. As that slides right under my hips, my back leg is coming up to that perch. Here. Now my supporting leg slides back, my front leg pushes forward. We come back up. We pop down. Now keep in mind, every time I come down to my stance, my front leg is bending a little bit because you don't want to jump on a straight leg. It's really bad for your knees. Slight bend, okay? Something that helps me is to think down, slide, down, slide, down, slide, down, slide, down, slide, down, slide, down, slide. I see a lot of people who are trying to practice the running man and they're too much upwards, like they're trying to jump almost. That is not the case. You want to think down. And instead of thinking down up, because we're not jumping up, we're just sliding. Yeah? And when we slide, it's a tiny itty bitty slide, just enough to be able to get rid of that friction in order for you to get up here. It's not a jump. We're not jumping up. We're just sliding across the floor, right? Like if you were to just go scoot, scoot, that's all it is. Okay, now I want to talk about weight a little bit because this is going to really help you with your other moves that you do as you continue on with shuffling. You want to keep your weight in the ball of your foot. And if you don't know where the ball of your foot is, it is right here. Oh, my shoes are being ripped apart. Oh no, that sucks. Anyways, if you don't know where the ball of your foot is, it's right here. And that's where you can probably see I have the most wear because that's where I'm putting my weight the most. This is the ball of your foot. You don't want to stay heel heavy and you don't want to stay toe heavy because then you'll start doing this. The ball of your foot is where that weight is. And something that you can do to practice is by just ever so slightly jumping and really think that you're only landing on the ball of your foot, but you're still putting your heel down. Da, 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 like this. And learning to stay light on the ball of your feet will help you so much with rocking, because that's all rocking really is like scooting around on the balls of your feet. Now I want to talk about arms for a second, because arms are so important with dancing. We are a multi-dimensional human being, and we need to be using every part of our body when we're dancing, right? With the Running Man, I like to do a accumulation of different things. I sometimes will do opposite arm, opposite leg. Sometimes I'll do the same arm. Sometimes I will do a punch down. I see a lot of people doing like the marching arms. Personally, that's not my style, but if that's your style, feel free. It's kind of, you just like do this motion. I like to kind of really get flowy with my arms. You can really like point with your arms. There is so much things you can do. I really recommend finding what you like. So if you like the more flowy effect, I really suggest standing in the mirror, practicing some arms that feel good for you. If you are a more hard style, again, find someone that you really like and you look up to, and kind of mimic that a little bit until you start forming your own style. That is something that is so important. Shuffling is an expression. It is a movement that expresses who we are, and we can't express someone that we're not, right? So I highly suggest finding what works for you. And you can't always find what works for you until you do something that someone else does, and then you realize like, oh, I like this, but I'm going to tweak it into my own thing. So learning from people is good. I highly suggest getting inspiration from people, but really try and make it unique to you and what feels good to you. So I usually tend to have a more flowy effect with my arms. I do like the punch down. Something that helps me is to kind of imagine that I'm in water when I'm shuffling. And it kind of helps me with my arms. So for example, let's imagine that we're like pushing against water, right? So we're gonna be like push, 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 right? We kind of like flow through the water. That's something that I kind of think about that helps me. Opposite arm, opposite leg really, really, really is easy because it's the most natural for us to do. It's as simple as this. Pretty easy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So yeah, that is the rundown of arms that you can do with the Running Man. Now, I want to talk about counts really quick. I'm sure you're well aware with counts. They are pretty quickly. They're on every and count. So an 8 count consists of 8 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Most counts in music consist of 8. So in an 8 count, you also have and counts. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. So when you are in your stance, that is when you are on the actual number. So that would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. When you are in your perch, that is when you're on the and count. So you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so on. Got it? So really remember that's the count. It's not the opposite. When you're down, you're rooted into the ground. That's when you're on those actual numbers. When you're up, that's when you're on the and counts. I really suggest starting with a lower BPM when you really try and practice the Running Man. When I first started, I just wanted to be really good fast, and I didn't take the time that I really wanted to like clean the Running Man. I was like, oh, I feel decent with the Running Man. I'm gonna go learn all these other moves. And if I could go back, I would have just practiced really nailing the Running Man, because it is so, so, so important. Start with a slow BPM, get those counts down, get that musicality down, and then move on. But counts are really important, musicality is really important. When you really find that flow of where your body is supposed to be, it will make more sense. A couple more general key points that I want to focus on is that we are not going to look down at our feet when we're doing The running man. When you look down at your feet when you're dancing, it is because you aren't trusting yourself to do that movement. You feel more comfortable and confident to look down and make sure that you it just makes you feel better, right? It makes you feel like, oh, I can do this. Really practice looking up. What we do when we dance is a habit. It's muscle memory. So if we're practicing looking down, when we actually go to try and get into a flow, what do you think we're gonna do? We're gonna look down. So practice looking up. If you need to look down to see how your legs are doing, cool. If you have a mirror, even better, because you can really keep your chin lifted. So please, please, please don't look down. It will save you so much more in the long run. The habits that you pick up on as a beginner shuffler are really important because those are the habits that will stick with you. So starting with good, clean habits will really help you down the road. The last tip that I have for you guys is to not curl your shoulders over. So it might be easy, it might feel easy to kind of slouch a little bit like this because you just might not be super comfortable in the movement yet. But I really encourage you to keep those shoulders back and your chest lifted and your core engaged, right? If we're slouching like this, it's because we're probably not engaging our core. Squeezing your core requires you to stretch a little bit, yeah, kind of like a tree. So we really want to be stretching tall, not actually like this, but energy wise. We're really reaching our energy upwards, and in order to do that, we have to engage our core. So shoulders are back, our chin is lifted, we're really perked up, but we're still grounded into the floor, right? So the running man is such a fun move, and there's so many ways to perk it up and make it into your own thing. Like I said, when I first started, the running man was something I avoided, and now it is my favorite move. I love doing the running man. There's so many different things you can do, but you really need to nail this one down before I suggest you working on the other one. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you in the next module.